Hello, in this video, we're focusing on the practical concepts that you can actually apply in the real business world. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get on with it. Today, we're going to explore why mergers and acquisitions often don't deliver the results companies expect, and how to make better decisions when choosing between buying a business or building one from the ground up. As you can see from the image of a handshake, this is about partnership and agreement, but it's also about being thoughtful and strategic. We'll cover the common pitfalls that lead to disappointment in acquisitions and share practical insights on when it's smarter to invest time and resources in building capabilities internally instead. The goal is to help you avoid regrets and pick the right path for your organization with confidence. When companies are searching for the fastest way to grow or gain new capabilities, buying another business often looks like the clearest path. Acquisitions promise quick access to new markets, fresh technologies, or boosted revenues without the weight that building internally requires. However, this shortcut comes with its own set of challenges. Many acquisitions don't meet expectations because they mix the complexities of strategic decision-making with human biases, such as overconfidence and the fear of missing out. There's also the pressure of deal fever and internal politics, plus the demanding process of integrating two companies. A common trap is the belief that any problems can be fixed after the deal closes, but in reality, the real work only begins once the acquisition is announced. In this presentation, we'll explore how to weigh the buy versus build choice with a practical framework, see how to execute either strategy effectively, and review examples of both successful and failed deals. We'll also cover the pros and cons of each approach and finish with a simple, actionable guideline to help you make these decisions with confidence. The decision to buy or build impacts many parts of a business beyond just finance or product strategy. Buying offers quick access to new capabilities, customers, and talent, accelerating progress towards strategic goals. Building takes more time, but often results in a better strategic fit with your company. When it comes to risk, acquisitions put a lot on the line in one move, including the challenge of integrating new teams and systems. Building spreads risk over time, although you might miss out on immediate opportunities. Culture plays a big role too. Buying requires blending different company cultures, which can be costly and complicated, while building lets your culture grow naturally, though changes may be slower. Profitability is another factor. Acquisitions can bring hidden costs or inefficiencies, whereas building lets you tailor costs and technology to your needs. Lastly, buying can lock you into a fixed setup, reducing flexibility, while building keeps options open but might not reach scale. Essentially, choosing to buy means paying up front with cash for immediate results, while building means investing time and potentially paying more later, but with greater control. When companies fall into the M&A trap, they often start by overpaying based on overly optimistic assumptions. Then, they underestimate how complicated integrating the two organizations will be, which leads to missing the expected synergies. Often, key talent leaves after the acquisition, and hidden liabilities emerge that nobody anticipated. Meanwhile, leadership gets distracted from the core business, shifting focus and resources away from what truly drives value. Over time, this results in companies quietly writing down goodwill or repeatedly restructuring without solving the root issue. This isn't because mergers and acquisitions are inherently flawed, but because initiating deals is relatively easy, while completing them successfully is much harder. Several hidden factors contribute to this pattern. Deals that sound strategic often don't translate to real economic value. Once momentum builds internally, it's hard to stop without reputational damage. Projected synergies look straightforward on spreadsheets, but are messy and complex in practice. An integration is often mistaken for mere project management, when it actually requires deep organizational change and careful coordination. All these elements together explain why M&A can become a trap if not carefully managed. Buying means acquiring an outside entity or asset to quickly gain new capabilities or market access. This can take several forms, including full acquisitions, majority or minority stakes, or even acquiring teams to bring in talent. It also includes purchasing specific assets like intellectual property or customer contracts, and roll-ups where smaller companies are combined to build scale. Building, on the other hand, is about creating those capabilities internally. This involves developing new products from scratch, building internal tools or platforms, expanding organically into new markets, hiring and training the right talent, and forming partnerships that gradually grow into internal capabilities. Each approach offers a distinct path to achieving strategic goals, whether through external investment or internal development. Start by clearly defining the strategic need. Focus on the precise capability required, not just a broad term like AI, but something specific, such as a fraud detection model, along with the necessary data pipeline and compliance workflow. Understand what business outcome this capability will drive, whether it's revenue growth, margin improvement, customer retention, operational speed, or defensibility. Also, establish a firm deadline for when this capability must be in place. If the deadline is genuinely critical to the business, purchasing the capability may be more compelling. Then assess 6 key factors using a buy versus build scorecard, rating each from 1 to 5, where 5 leans strongly toward buying. Consider how urgent the need is in terms of time to value, how mature and commoditized the capability is. If the capability offers strategic differentiation or a competitive edge, the complexity of integrating the new technology, data, processes, and culture, the cost comparison between buying and building, including integration expenses, and whether internal talent can realistically support building and executing at the required level. As a rough rule, if the capability provides high strategic differentiation, building tends to be the better approach. But if time is critical and the capability is mature and widely available, buying usually makes more sense. Finally, if integration complexity is high, lean toward building or partnering, unless acquiring is essential for business reasons. This framework offers a clear, practical way to guide leadership discussions and decisions, helping avoid guesswork and better aligning actions with strategic priorities. Before proceeding with any purchase, it's essential to clearly define what your non-negotiables are. This means setting minimum requirements for the product or technology, financial limits, and identifying any cultural red flags that could impact integration. You also need to establish boundaries for customer concentration, data and security standards, and any regulatory constraints that must be met. Without these criteria, it becomes impossible to confidently say no, which means you're not truly ready to buy. Once these parameters are set, consider a flexible approach where you start by partnering or establishing a commercial agreement. This allows you to see how the new capability works in your operations without making a full commitment up front. Including an option to buy later based on performance gives you valuable insight and reduces risk. Acquiring should only happen when integration risks are lower and the value is clear, helping to avoid making a big bet without adequate proof. This stepwise approach encourages realistic assessment and better decision-making. When planning a merger or acquisition, start with a clear deal thesis. This should fit on one page and outline exactly what the acquisition will enable, including specific outcomes you expect. Detail what operational changes will happen immediately after 30 days and at the 6-month mark. Identify where synergies will come from and who will be responsible for them. It's essential to list the assumptions that must hold true for the deal to succeed, along with the risks that could derail it. If you can't explain the integration plan briefly and concretely, it means the plan hasn't been fully developed. Alongside this, do a form of reverse due diligence on your own team and capacity. Instead of just focusing on the target company, ask if your team has the talent and bandwidth to integrate successfully, whether you are managing other major initiatives already. If the best people at the target company will stay post-acquisition, and if you can handle running 2 operating systems during the transition. The bottom line is, if you can't manage the integration properly, it's better not to proceed with the buy. When we talk about synergies, it's important to move beyond seeing them as just numbers on a spreadsheet. Instead, think of synergies as a kind of product roadmap that includes IT migrations, process changes, incentive redesign, customer success coordination, pricing changes, and cross-sell enablement. Each of these areas should have a clear owner, a deadline, a budget, a key performance indicator, and a risk rating assigned to ensure accountability and progress. At the same time, culture needs to be treated as a specific work stream, not just decorative posters or vague ideas. Culture influences how quickly decisions get made, how accountability is handled, how conflict is managed, and how incentives, promotions, and tolerance for ambiguity are structured. Many integration efforts fail because people aren't clear on whose rules apply, incentive systems clash, or leaders avoid making tough calls to keep morale, which usually backfires. Making these elements explicit and planned from the start helps avoid the common traps that come with acquisitions. When deciding on the price to pay during an acquisition, it's critical to establish a walkaway price, a maximum limit, you aren't willing to exceed. This price should be based on conservative, realistic assumptions about the base case, meaning you don't rely on overly optimistic forecasts. You also need to factor in the likelihood of capturing synergies, weighting them by their probability, rather than assuming they will all fully materialize. Integration costs and potential disruptions must be included as well, since those can impact the overall value you get from the deal. Finally, consider the downside scenario, the worst case situation, and ensure your walkaway price protects you against that risk. If you're not prepared to walk away at this set price, then you're not truly negotiating. You're just hoping for the best, which is a risky approach in any M&A process. It's important to focus on building a minimum viable capability rather than trying to create a perfect system from the start. Many internal projects fail because they prioritize completeness or technical elegance instead of making real progress that customers can start using. To avoid this, clearly define what usable in production means and what measurable value looks like. Aim for a version that delivers tangible benefits within 90 days so customers can actually feel the impact. Equally important is to ensure ownership is shared across product, engineering, operations, and finance teams, rather than leaving it solely with IT. A business leader must be accountable for adoption and return on investment, keeping the project aligned with commercial goals and preventing it from being judged only on technical merits. This collaborative approach greatly increases the chance that the build will succeed and deliver real value. Instead of hiring several average generalists, focus on bringing in one exceptional leader who excels at building and leading teams. This person should have a strong ability to think in systems, a bias toward shipping products quickly, skill in managing stakeholders, and comfort with uncertainty. Around this leader, build a small, focused team that can move fast and stay aligned. Also, remember that even when you decide to build internally, you don't have to do everything yourself. Use a build partner buy approach by integrating external components where possible, partnering for distribution, or outsourcing less critical parts of the project. The goal isn't about maintaining purity or doing everything from scratch, but rather about achieving the best outcomes efficiently. When looking at successful acquisitions, Google's purchase of YouTube is a great example. YouTube already had strong user engagement and was winning in how people behaved online. Google didn't just buy the platform. They scaled it by adding their advertising technology and other resources, focusing on growth instead of trying to fully absorb YouTube's operations. Similarly, Disney's acquisition of Pixar worked well because Disney understood the importance of preserving Pixar's creative culture. They kept Pixar's leaders in place and maintained their creative autonomy, which allowed Pixar to continue producing innovative content while Disney used its distribution power to amplify that success. Both cases show that success comes from having a clear strategic plan and respecting the unique strengths and culture of the acquired company, rather than just trying to merge everything into a single operation immediately. The merger between AOL and Time Warner is a well-known case where high hopes for synergy didn't pan out due to a few key issues. First, they focused heavily on a big-picture narrative of synergies without really grounding it in the day-to-day operational realities needed to make it work. On top of that, the companies had very different cultures and incentive structures, which made collaboration and integration difficult. Finally, the industry around them was changing rapidly, and they couldn't adapt quickly enough to those shifts. This example shows how even promising mergers can fail if the practical and cultural aspects are not aligned, and if external market conditions aren't sufficiently accounted for. Amazon Web Services became a powerhouse because it started as an internal tool built to meet Amazon's own infrastructure needs. This insider perspective helped them design a platform that could scale extensively and maintain high reliability. They then externalized this capability into a product with clear value for customers and kept improving it continuously. On the other hand, Zora's success came from developing a complete system over time that integrated rapid design-to-shelf cycles with operational agility and constant feedback. While competitors could imitate parts of Zora's model, the seamless coordination between understanding demand and production, combined with disciplined execution, created an advantage that's difficult to copy. Both examples show that building internal capabilities focused on system-level integration, scalability, and real customer value creates a strong foundation for lasting success. Buying a company offers several benefits, such as gaining immediate access to new capabilities, customers, and talented teams without the time it takes to build those internally. It can also help a company enter new markets quickly, by acquiring established distribution channels and local credibility. Additionally, buying can eliminate competitors, helping to consolidate the market, and it reduces the uncertainty around product market fit since the acquired business already has proven success. Furthermore, there's potential to scale synergies through procurement efficiencies, cross-selling opportunities, and cost reductions, though these must be real to be valuable. On the other hand, buying comes with risks. There's the chance of overpaying, often driven by competitive auctions that push valuations higher. Integration is another major challenge, as blending cultures, systems, and processes can create friction. Hidden liabilities may also surface, such as legal issues, customer churn, or technical debt. The process can distract leadership, consuming bandwidth during the critical post-close period. Lastly, synergy expectations often fall short, since execution rarely matches the detailed spreadsheet projections. Understanding these pros and cons is essential for deciding whether buying is the right path versus building internally. Building a solution has several advantages that align closely with your company's strategic goals and culture. It offers strategic control, allowing you to tailor the product precisely to your model and priorities, which also helps maintain cultural consistency by avoiding clashes between people or processes. Economically, it can be more attractive in the long run because there's no acquisition premium involved. Building internally lets you develop unique capabilities that differentiate your offering from competitors. It also creates a compounding effect on learning, where skills and intellectual property grow and improve over time. However, there are downsides. Building takes time, so it's a slower path to market impact. There is also execution risk. Just because you can build something doesn't guarantee it will ship on time or meet expectations. Opportunity cost is another factor. Competitors might move faster by buying or partnering instead. Talent constraints can cause delays, as certain expertise may be hard to find or retain. Additionally, internal politics can hurt the effort, since projects built internally can stall in prioritization battles. Balancing these advantages and disadvantages is critical when deciding whether to build or pursue other options. If you need results in a relatively short time frame, say 6 to 18 months, buying is usually the better option, especially when the capability you want is mature and already available in the market. It's important that you can keep the key people after the purchase, and that integrating systems, processes, and culture is something you can handle with a clear plan before signing any agreement. On the other hand, building makes sense when the capability is a core part of what sets your business apart, when you need everything to be tightly aligned with your operating model, or when integration risks are high because the target is complicated or messy. Building also works well if you can move quickly in development and hire the right talent, especially if the market is changing and you want flexibility. There's also a hybrid approach where you start by partnering, then have the option to buy later. This fits well when you're not sure if the fit is right, want to reduce integration risk, prefer deals where valuation depends on performance, or need to enter the market faster than building, but with less risk than buying outright. This simple checklist can help guide your decision based on your goals, risks, and the nature of the capability you want to acquire. The key decision around buying versus building comes down to where you're willing to take on the challenge, paying upfront through acquisition costs and integration demands, or investing time and effort over the long haul to develop capabilities in-house. Acquisitions can offer speed and immediate impact, but only when the capability is mature. The operating model can effectively absorb the new entity, and integration is managed with clear ownership and realistic expectations. On the other hand, building internally can give you strategic control, cultural alignment, and better economics, especially when the capability is core to your differentiation and needs to be shaped around your own systems. Top executives don't simply ask if they should buy or build. They consider whether it's smarter to handle the pain now with money or spread it out over time with execution. Whichever path you choose, success demands clarity, realism, and disciplined execution. Decide ruthlessly on your thesis, valuation, and integration if buying, or focus on speed, measurable outcomes, and shipping discipline if building. This mindset shift helps avoid the trap of treating acquisition as a shortcut while overlooking the critical integration work that ultimately determines success. If you found this video useful, there's plenty of more business and finance videos on the channel that you'll enjoy watching and get great practical value from. In the meantime, thanks for watching.